We are on board the government's 3 million trees in 3 years initiative. Are you? If your answer is yes, we encourage you to collect your seedlings free of cost from the Forestry Department. And if you've collected your plants, how are they taking to the soil? We can all play a part in ensuring that we have a carbon-free natural environment as we take the necessary steps to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, do business, and of course, retire in paradise. Our Jamaica Magazine program continues with a word of advice, followed by the news.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Monday, October 14. A 24-hour mental health and suicide prevention helpline, 888-NEW-LIFE or 888-639-5433 has now been activated. It will be manned by professional psychologists who will provide appropriate levels of advice. The new helpline is part of the Ministry of Health and Wellness's Speak Up, Speak Now campaign, which provides a platform from which people can share their stories of mental illness. The campaign and helpline were launched at the Bellevue Hospital last Thursday to coincide with the observance of World Mental Health Day 2019.
We want to change, in the first instance, the perception around mental illness. We want every Jamaican to recognize that we are all vulnerable. We know somebody who has been affected, or we have been affected at some point, and there is a way to deal with mental illness that is humane, that is compassionate, and that can help to rehabilitate persons so they live normal, productive lives.
The Health and Wellness Minister says these interventions are important as a local survey indicates that 4 of every 10 Jamaicans at some point in their lives will suffer from some form of mental illness. Statistics also reveal that between 45 and 55 persons commit suicide each year in Jamaica based on mental illness. To further assist with community mental health service delivery and response, 14 new buses have been handed over to the health regions. Jamaica has now formally signed an air service agreement to facilitate direct flights from South Africa to the Norman Manley International Airport. Minister of Transport and Mining Robert Montego made the announcement during a recent function.
It is going to open up trading links, it is going to open up tourism, it is going to open up study, it is going to open up travel. In order now to get to Africa, you no longer need to go to Panama or Brazil or New York or London. The possibility exists that you can go from Kingston straight into Johannesburg.
Minister Montego says discussions are also advanced to finalize similar air services agreements with other African nations, including Ghana and Nigeria. He was addressing the official presentation of an Aerodrome Operator Certificate to the Norman Manley International Airport. Meanwhile, Jamaica has received the International Civil Aviation Organization ICAO Council President's Certificate Award in Aviation Security. Director General of the Jamaica Civil Aviation Authority, Nari William Singh, received the award recently. It recognizes Jamaica's progress in handling its aviation security insufficiencies while improving the effective implementation of ICAO standards and recommended practices. Transport Minister Robert Montego says this is a first for Jamaica's civil aviation industry and comes as the JCAA's head was elected to the ICAO Assembly.
Our Director General, Mr. Nari William Singh, was elected to be President of the 40th Assembly of the International Civil Aviation Organization, which is a UN body. 193 member states, and Mr. Nari Singh, a Jamaican, was elected to be the presiding officer.
The Jamaica Defense Forces Disaster Assistance Response Team DART is being expanded. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the announcement on Friday during a welcome ceremony for DART members who were deployed to the Bahamas in September. They were there to help in the country's recovery efforts following the passage of Hurricane Dorian. The Prime Minister says the JDF is a critical part of Jamaica's resilience and preparedness in the event of a disaster.
We are building to have that capacity. Certainly in terms of the human capacity, the sheer numbers, we should be able to provide that, certainly with our new recruitment strategy under the Jamaica National Service Corps. We have also sought to expand our mobility, certainly with the acquisition of new helicopters. What we do not now currently have is airlift capacity. And hopefully, eventually, over time, as our economic circumstances improve, we should be able to acquire that capacity for our own.
A new board of directors is now in place for the National Housing Trust, NHT. Minister with Oversight for Information, Carl Samuda, announced the members during the recent post-cabinet press briefing at Jamaica House.
Mr. Lennox Channa, Chairman. Senator Cavan Gale, Senator Kerincia Morrison, Mr. Doran Dixon, that name is very familiar with the teaching circles, Mr. Granville Valentine, also very familiar in the trade union movement, Sergeant Patrick Rowe, Mr. O'Neill Grant, Mrs. Nesta Claire Smith-Hunter, Mr. Jeffrey Hall, Mr. Colin Barnett, Mr. David Wan, and Mr. Ryan Parks.
He says their appointments, which will span 3 years, became effective on September 9, 2019, and will last until September 8, 2022. And finally, more than 500 professionals and business leaders are expected to participate in the 2019 staging of the Global Leadership Summit, GLS. The annual conference will be held over 2 days at venues in Kingston and St. James. Under the theme Inspire, Transform, Influence, activities begin on October 25 at the Hope Fellowship Church in Kingston, before moving to the Montego Bay Convention Center on November 7. The Global Leadership Summit is organized by Jamaica Link Ministries, JLM, in partnership with the Global Leadership Network, GLN, and local entities. President of JLM and Chairman of GLN Jamaica, Reverend Hector Faulkner, says the conference is a catalyst for change and a resource to be leveraged to transform your community.
Providing vision, inspiration, and countless practical skills that you can put to work the day after.
Reverend Faulkner was addressing a think tank at the JIS's regional office in Montego Bay recently. Persons who wish to participate in GLS 2019 can register online or call 876-979-2648. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Construction for the new Houses of Parliament complex is to start in 2021. A few months ago, the Out of Many One People design conceptualized by Evan Williams and his team, Design Collaborative, was selected as the concept for the structure. The building, as Prime Minister Andrew Holness puts it, will improve the governance of the country. Find out more next.
Our vision is that Kingston must be like what London is to the United Kingdom. We want Kingston to be like what Singapore is to Asia. Kingston should be like what Paris is to France. Kingston must be like what South Africa is to the motherland. We want Kingston, Jamaica, to be the epicenter of the Caribbean region.
And that vision starts with the construction of a new Houses of Parliament complex, the anchoring structure for the proposed Government Oval. To be built within the 300 acres of land surrounding the National Heroes Park, the Oval will have 14 government ministries, agencies and departments, centrally located to the hub of business and the 7th largest natural harbour in the world. Since the advent of universal adult suffrage in 1944, Jamaicans have had a hand in choosing those who will represent their interests and direct the affairs of the state on their behalf. But long before this important marker in history, Jamaicans have been resolved on the need of a central location from which the affairs of the people are to be administered. Today, Gordon House on Duke Street is that seat of government. This two-story building became the official meeting place of the Jamaican government on Wednesday, October 26, 1960. Like other sites of the past, which were found unsuitable for one reason or another, Gordon House is now poised to make way for the march of progress and designation of a new meeting place for the people's representatives.
Gordon House was designed and built for meetings of the municipal council. So the fact is that Gordon House was always a temporary house of parliament. Aside from the issue of insufficient space, lack of adequate parking, and facilities to interact and engage with the public, the building itself lacks the stature and functionality of a modern parliament.
So for decades, various governments have pondered and pursued plans for a new parliament building. Time and again, the consensus was clear. The legislative arm of government should be situated in the place where the nation's heroes are honored, a place where history has left its mark. Heroes Circle, as Jamaicans now know it to be, was once the Kingston Racecourse, the island's premier location for horse racing. The racecourse grounds also hosted cricket, cycling, traveling circuses, and many other entertainment-based events. Around since 1783, the property, previously named Montgomery Pen, was purchased in 1818 by the Kingston Council. It was on these grounds that former slaves celebrated full freedom in 1838, and decades later, Queen Victoria's Golden and Diamond Jubilees. The Jamaica National Exhibition of 1891 was also held on these grounds, at the site of what is now the Woolmer's School. Renamed the George VI Memorial Park in 1953, a war memorial was also erected to honor those who served in the First and Second World Wars. Then, in 1956, as the island was making the transition from British rule to full self-governance, the local authority passed the King George VI Memorial Park Act. This law was designed to wind up operations at the Kingston Racecourse, which would later, in 1973, be renamed in honor of those who played a heroic role in shaping our great nation.
This act primarily designated the Kingston Racecourse as an area of recreation, public gardens, entertainment, and so forth. It also designated that the minister had the authority to designate certain areas as the location for the new parliamentary building.
And I share that vision, that we should make Hero Circle the center, the government circle. We are announcing today the start of what we call Government Circle.
Making good on that announcement, a non-binding agreement was signed with China Construction America for the conceptualization and design of a model.
The idea is to use this project as the catalyst for the regeneration, revitalization of this great asset that we have, downtown Kingston.
The Urban Development Corporation is the leading development agency of the government of Jamaica, and we have been making development happen since 1968.
It is not surprising that when the government of Jamaica decided that it wanted to see Kingston come alive again, see to the redevelopment of Kingston, it turned to the UDC. And indeed, you would have seen some of the efforts bearing fruit already.
One of those is at the northern end of downtown, which would be in and around the National Heroes Park.
We are involved in the government overall project, which we are doing the study and the work for, which would cause the various important ministries of the government to be located in one geographic area for ease of business and so on.
Now just imagine in a few years, this space and the wider downtown area will be transformed into a vibrant, enviable, iconic destination. The Houses of Parliament will be the anchor stone for all of that. It will hold a central position in Kingston, the capital.
We will have 14 government ministries and core agencies conveniently and efficiently located within the 300 acres of surrounding land. Can you imagine the efficiency of that when we purposely plan and build for an efficient government?
As we continue to celebrate our heritage, a great legacy, we look at the importance of the Baptist Church to the emancipation movement of the 1800s.
It was our own national hero, the Right Excellent Sam Sharp, an enslaved man and a freedom fighter who said, "I would rather die upon yonder gallows than live in slavery." That sentiment was also shared by many other slaves. But the fight for freedom and the hope for victory brought liberation to many. Right here in Jamaica, the movement to end slavery was very active, and landmarks across the island document this part of our history.
We are on the Emancipation Trail, and we're looking at the symbolic parts of Jamaica which relate to emancipation, a very important change of status in our country. We're here in the Filippo Baptist Church compound in Spanish Town. Spanish Town is a very old city, founded in 1539, I believe, and this particular site was where the Baptists created a congregation in 1818. And this church, built by the Baptists at the time of Reverend Filippo, was part of the congregation that was very supportive of the move to emancipate all enslavement. And that is a magnificent building going back probably close to 200 years. This church is very historic. Right here, under this tamarind tree, and identified by this plaque, is the slave chains which were buried on August the 1st, 1838. And it is now my pleasure to introduce Deacon Ivan O'Connor, a member of this congregation, who is going to tell us some more about this very historic site and its relationship to emancipation.
I understand that part of the Declaration of Emancipation was read from the steps of this church. And a deep hole was dug right here, and all the chains that were available were put in there and covered. And a tamarind tree was put there as a monument. I understand that the first tamarind tree was destroyed by the 51 hurricane, but it was replaced. And it stands here now as a monument where people can come and get tamarind and remember the slavery chains.
And touch the monument, right, as part of our experience,
right, it is here
of
as a
what
reminder.
Emancipation was all about.
Right.
But I also think we have to remind ourselves that the original official declaration was read from the steps of King's House,
That's
the facade which is still in front of the square.
That square is Emancipation Square, which is also in Spanish Town and just a few meters away from the Filippo Baptist Church. Here was once the town center. Other important buildings in the square include the Old House of Assembly, Rodney's Memorial, and the Old Courthouse. The area was severely damaged by fire, as well as the 1692 earthquake, but parts of the buildings have since been restored and put to use. back over at the Philippo Baptist Church.
We want to reaffirm how important the Baptist movement and denomination was to emancipation. They were major players in persuading the English government to declare free at last, emancipation on the 1st of August, 1838.
And it is believed that the chains of slaves were buried at the Philippo Baptist Church due to its close proximity to Emancipation Square and the unrelenting movement by the Baptist Church to put an end to slavery.
Somebody said some time ago, how can we write the history of Jamaica without including the Baptists? The Baptists were one of the churches that were very integral to the teaching of the slaves and emancipation. James Philippo was one of the persons who was integral in getting emancipation for the slaves in Jamaica.
While emancipation was declared for slaves, their conditions were not improved. So the movement for a more just society was challenged by Paul Bogle and George William Gordon. They were also part of the Baptist movement and later became two of our national heroes. As a result of this involvement, Baptist work in Jamaica became an enduring symbol of the church's opposition to slavery and all other forms of injustice.
This building was put up sometime about 1827 thereabout and has been maintained over time. It's a natural heritage site, and so the National Heritage Trust has control over what happens here. Right after emancipation, James Philippo established free villages like in Sligoville, in parts of Clarendon, and also established churches. So this church is steeped in our history in Jamaica.
Garbage collection, maintenance of public sanitary conveniences, upkeep of cemeteries, provision of water shops, road improvement, street lights, poor relief programs, community beautification. All these services are funded by you. Yes, they are, when you pay your property tax. Pay your annual property tax to make Jamaica the place of choice for all.
How well do you know our national flower, the Lignum vitae? Get a refresher course next.
Christopher Columbus saw it here when he came. It means wood of life in Latin. It's world-renowned for its medicinal, ornamental, and industrial properties. But round these parts, it's known as the Lignum vitae, the island's national flower.
It is a tree that is native to Jamaica, it's native to Cuba, basically the Greater Antilles and parts of Central America. Its native habitat is pretty much dry alluvial type plains. It also grows in well-drained limestone areas.
This short, compact tree takes over 100 years to grow up to 30 feet tall. Due to its luminous purple-blue flower, alluring orange-yellow fruit, evergreen foliage, and attractive rounded shape, the tree dots across the Jamaican landscape, shading many houses, streets, and complexes. Since time immemorial, the Lignum vitae has been touted as the most useful tree in the world.
It produces a gum, and that gum used to be regarded as highly favored for medicinal uses.
Its body, gum, bark, fruit, leaves, and blossom are used to produce medicine. In colonial times, resin from the tree was used as a mild laxative and as a diuretic. The leaves were used as a remedy for respiratory, inflammatory, congestion, and neurological disorders. Its bark eases pain from sprains, strain, rheumatism, and arthritis. And I'm sure many Jamaican homes still ward off flies with its branches.
Its most noted feature is the wood. Because it's slow growing, it's very, very dense.
and that density and the weight of it gives it a number of industrial uses.
That's because the lignum vitae is infused with an oil which makes it waterproof. It's ranked as the world's densest, hardest, and most durable traded wood. In addition to being used for making exquisite furniture, the lignum vitae was used to insulate trolley cars for the rail industry. The wood also made the propeller shaft bearings of most ships back in the day. Lignum vitae wood is also ideal for these creations. The lignum vitae is truly the holy grail of plants.
It's the 9th staging of the JIS Heritage Competition, and this year we're talking slavery and reparation. Entries are now open, so listen up. Primary and prep school students, this is what you should do. Imagine that you are one of the 7 national heroes. Make your case for Jamaica to be compensated for the effects of slavery. Answer this question in an essay of 400 to 500 words and submit using the application form on our website, jis.gov.jm. Entrants must be aged 9 to 12 years old. Secondary students, the poster competition is for you. Submit your digital or illustrated posters to depict the theme, Jamaica, a case for reparation. The photo competition is open to tertiary students in accredited Jamaican institutions. Send us a photo, also representing the theme, Jamaica, a case for reparation. All entries should be submitted using the application form on the JIS website. For more information, contact 876-922-3590, extension 2137 or 2132. You may also email heritageessay@jis.gov.jm, heritageposter@jis.gov.jm, and heritagephoto@jis.gov.jm. Deadline for entries is Monday, October 28. Go ahead, express yourself in the JIS Heritage Competition 2019.
The Jamaica Information Service is on the go, executing its annual Heritage School Tour. Watch as we highlight the exceptional talents of our nation's youth.
Jamaica! Jamaica! Let me tell about my sweet Jamaica. London wood and water, reggae and ska, come fire. With national dish and service, Jamaica culture are the best. When it comes to dynamics, no other can test. We bigger and we better and we better than the rest. Jamaica, Jamaica, let me tell about my sweet Jamaica. Out of many people, we are one. We are the Indian, Chinese, and African.
Be sure to watch Jamaica Magazine to see more of our youth showing us how they'll bring hope to Jamaica. And that's where we leave you on today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. Be sure to join us tomorrow for another informative program. We are available at your leisure online, so visit our website, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or follow us on all the major social media platforms. We also have a mobile app that's smartphone compatible. On behalf of the entire production team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thank you for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.